Okay, so this is a quick video on how to set up a Rails app with us React rendering with server-side React. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run a command like this, Rails new, and then the name of your project. I called this one setup demo. We give it our database. I'm always going to be using PostgreSQL, and then we give it this --webpack equals React. Now I've already run this because this takes a second. That's what all this code is up here. See, I already ran this just so you didn't have to watch me do it. But by running this, I should now see whatever I called after the new, that's the name of my project. I should now be able to cd into that. So the next steps I'm going to want to do, and that's going to take a second for you. You're going to have to wait for that to build. But once that's done, you cd into that project, and then we're going to run this command. We're going to do a bundle add React Rails. That's going to add Rails to our React to our project, and then we're going to do a Rails G React install. Sweet. So that kind of gets React and Rails set up together. I'm also going to want to do a Rails DB create to create my database, and then I can do a Rails S to start up my server and see if this is working. So there's it's listening on port localhost 3000. So then I can go to localhost 3000. Cool. So that should get us set up, but so that should be the steps to get your app ready to go with React and Rails. But let's maybe do some additional steps that we might want to do. So I'm going to open this up into code. Now something we might want to do is add a couple gems. So for that, we're going to go to our gem file, which is, if we open up this in VS Code and find our gem file at our root level directory, we can go ahead and add some things that are going to help us develop. So within this group development test do, I'm going to add a couple gems in here. I'm going to first add the gem pry Rails. This is going to help with debugging, and it's going to give me some nice logs when I debug and run into some errors. Another one that we can commonly use is this faker gem. So this is the faker GitHub. And I'm just going to copy and paste this from here. I'm going to go ahead and add that here. Faker is going to give us a way to create fake data. So we can create this realistic auto-generated data. So whenever I add something to my gem file, I need to come back here and I need to run bundle. So that's getting my faker, and then that's going to give me all of my my pry Rails as well. Now you can stop here, you don't need to follow through with this, but I do want to give just a little demo of just looking at the React Rails and maybe getting that set up. So I'm going to go ahead and create a component, and let's go ahead and do this just in our terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and create a file, and I'm going to create this in my app directory. And then I'm going to go and there's a JavaScript folder there, so I can just tab complete. And then there's a components directory. And now I can actually create a JavaScript file. So I'm going to just call this home.js. Cool. So there is my component. And just for a demo, we're going to let's go ahead and create a controller. I'm just going to call this static. Okay. So what I want to do now is to go back to VS Code, and let's just see where I created that JavaScript file. So in my app, JavaScript components, see there's my home.js file. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to create a simple React component. Oop, I got these reversed. So I'm going to import React from React. And then I'm going to make a functional component. I'm just going to call this home. This is just going to be a basic component here, and then we can return some JSX. All right, and then I want to export default this home component. Cool. So this is just some, just looks like HTML, which it essentially is, but it's a little different. It's called JSX. But here's our simple React component. It's just a function that returns JSX. Cool. So what I want to now happen to test this out, instead of rendering this default page, I want to render this home component. So how I'm going to first do that is I'm going to go to my routes. And I'm going to define a root route. And this is going to go to that static controller that I just created and to my home method, which I'm going to want to render my component. But let's kind of go through this. So if I refresh this, I need to start my server. So something I could do here, I could start my server in iTerm. Well, now my server's running, and now I can't type any commands, but I can do a Command D or Command Shift D to split my terminal. So I can have one running, my server running, and then I can type any commands here if I need to. So now that I have my server running, let's go back and check this out. Cool. So, and this was the error I was expecting, because I've created my static controller, but I did not create that home method. So let's go to my static controller. And something you're going to find that's very useful with VS Code is this Command P hotkey. So if I do Command P, this is going to allow me to search for files. So I want to maybe search for my routes.rb, because maybe we didn't know where that was. Well, that was actually in config and then routes.rb. You can see that can kind of be hard to find because there's a lot of files in here. So if I just do Command P and then look for routes.rb, then I can find that relatively quick. So I'll do that again, Command P, and I'll search for my static controller. And there it is. Now I can go ahead and define my home method. I'll save that, rerun that. So yeah, here's the next error that I'm getting. So it's telling me that it cannot find a template. It can't find any of the, it doesn't know what to render here. Well, this is where we can tell it to render our component. So I can say render component, and then I'm going to give it the name of my component, which I called home. I can refresh. It's spinning. Let's see. And there we go. There's my home component. And we'll see later, if I wanted to pass some data, I can do that through what's called props. So I can pass, maybe I wanted to pass some data here. Or this could be this doesn't have to be called data, this could be called info. We're passing some sort of info through props. So then I can go through my home.js, and I can actually grab the props here, and using, these ES60 structuring, I'm going to do, if I want to write JavaScript in JSX, I need to use these curly brackets, and then I can go ahead and grab props.info, because that's what I called it. Let's refresh that. And there's how I can pass data from my controller to my component. So that's just how we get this set up. We showed a little how we could add some extra gems, and then we showed a little demo of how we actually render a React component. Yeah, and then from here, we'll go ahead and build out, we'll do a CRUD action, but I'll do that in the next video.